Finance Minister Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul believes Malaysia's economic growth forecast of 5.3% to 6.3% this year is still on track, amid fears that the latest Federal Reserve rate hike will tip the US into recession. On Wednesday, the Fed instituted a 75 basis point hike, the largest increase in almost 30 years, in a bid to stem inflation, which hit a new 40-year high in May. It slashed its economic growth forecast for 2022 to 1.7%. According to a Bernama report, Zafrul said today this revised projection does not herald a recession in the US, but rather a moderation in gross domestic product growth. He said Malaysia, being a small and open economy, is obviously affected by the growth of developed countries and acknowledged that things are very fluid. The minister added that the government will continuously monitor global developments to ensure that appropriate monetary and fiscal responses are made to sustain growth. He said the 2022 inflation forecast is still within 2.3% to 3.3%. Meanwhile, Bank Negara is not expected to be as aggressive in tightening monetary policy, considering the country's relatively low inflation and with the economy in recovery mode. MIDF Amanah Investment Bank Research Head Imran Yassin Yusof expects the central bank to implement just another 25 basis point hike later this year. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob says the opening of the MRT Putrajaya Line should revitalise old and existing areas as well as spark growth in locations yet to be developed. According to Bernama, the Premier said, with the opening of the new line, the government is confident that areas located along the alignment, such as Jinjang, Sungai Buloh, Kepong and Bandar Seri Damansara, would develop more rapidly to be on par with other areas. The 57.7-kilometre MRT Putrajaya Line has 36 stations, comprising 27 elevated stations and 9 underground stations, with a total construction cost of 30.53 billion ringgit. Phase 1 involves the route from Kuala Damansara to Kampong Batu, while Phase 2, which is almost fully completed, involves the route from Kampong Batu to Putrajaya. Once fully operational, the line is expected to record an initial daily passenger count of over 104,000. In celebration of the line's opening, Ismail Sabri announced 1 month free rides on all public transport operated by Rapid KL, namely MRT, LRT, BRT, monorail and Rapid KL buses, as well as KTM commuter starting today. High Court Judge Justice Datuk Wan Ahmad Farid Wan Saleh has recused himself from hearing Datuk Seri Najib Razak's application to allow Jonathan Laidlaw, a Queen's Counsel, to represent the former Prime Minister in his final appeal against his July 2020 conviction in the SRC International case. Justice Wan Ahmad Farid, who was Deputy Home Minister in 2008, highlighted that he was once an active politician and has a family member who is still active in UMNO. He said should he continue to hear the matter, it would invite unnecessary criticism and compromise the integrity of the judiciary. This is why he recused himself voluntarily, as public perception of the independence of the judiciary should not be put in doubt. He added that he had since resigned from UMNO before being elevated to the bench. On July 28, 2020, the High Court sentenced Najib to 12 years in jail and fined him 210 million ringgit after finding him guilty of 7 charges involving SRC International. The Court of Appeal upheld the decision on December 8, 2021. The Federal Court is set to hear the appeal on August 15th to 26th, with written submissions to be filed by July 31st. Gaming giant the Genting Group and former Empire Resorts Inc. board members will pay $12 million to end investor litigation over the New York casino operator's take-private buyout, Bloomberg reported, citing court filings in the US state of Delaware. The report said the deal would resolve claims that the $9.74 a share transaction in November 2019 was the result of pressure by Genting Malaysia and Kian Huat Realty 3, affiliates of the Genting Group business empire controlled by gaming tycoon Tan Sri Lim Kok Teh. The report said that the settlement in no way constitutes an admission of wrongdoing or liability. Minority investors had sued for damages in July 2020. According to legal news service agency Law 360, the investors had argued the company's shares were worth as much as $15.95 each and alleged in the suit that Kian Huat Realty and others with ties to Lim breached fiduciary duties owed by controlling equity holders by recommending and approving a lowball merger via the improper counting of minority stockholders' votes and failing to disclose all material information. Genting Malaysia's shares settled unchanged at RM2.84 for a market capitalisation of 16.86 billion ringgit. Norway's $1.2 trillion, about 5.28 trillion ringgit wealth fund has reportedly put Supermax Corp under observation for 2 years, citing unacceptable risk that the glovemaker contributes to serious violations of human rights. According to a Reuters report, the fund said in a statement that its executive board made the assessment that the company's announced measures to improve living and working conditions for migrant workers leave uncertainty about future developments. The fund added it has also revoked the exclusion of IGM Corp. IGM Corp was excluded in 2015 due to its activities in palm oil plants in Indonesia, and since these activities have been terminated, there are no longer grounds for exclusion. Supermax's shares closed 3.85% lower at 87.5 cents, valuing the glove manufacturer at 2.38 billion ringgit. Meanwhile, IGM Corp saw its stock fall 1.73% at the close to 1 ringgit 70 for a market value of 6.2 billion ringgit.